Well, hello, Wendy.
Oh, hi. What have you been doing all day?
Well, I've been driving your ass around all day.
My chauffeur.
Having like the time of my
life. Oh, good.
life.
That sun went away.
Yeah, that's nice.
I was worried about that.
Well, so hi, everybody. This is Chris, and this is the Creatures of the Night podcast.
And I'm Wendy.
And we kind of already introduced ourselves because I was like, hey, Wendy. But I don't have much of an intro. Like Wendy said a second ago, we've been driving all over town because Wendy's in town. She's in New England with me because we are going to go investigate a location tonight.
Like in 45 minutes.
Yes.
So we're going to tell this story real quick.
This is going to be a super fast story.
We should also let you know this is something totally new for us. Not the investigation. We've done that. We're pros. No, but the car noise you hear in the back, that's not going to get taken out because we're fucking outside.
We are outside. We're not camping either.
No. We are right down the street from our location. Do you want to tell them where we're at?
We're at the Greenbower Cemetery in Gardner, Massachusetts, sitting at the grave of S.K. Pierce. We are going to be investigating S.K. Pierce's mansion.
We should have had like a drum roll before that or something.
Yeah.
We got to get sound effects. You just do them most of the time naturally.
Yeah, I'm very vocal. And there's a lot of bugs here in the graveyard, so we might be hitting mics constantly, trying to get the gnats away from our faces.
Swatting at them. They love that eyeball juice, I told you.
They absolutely do. So since we're short on time, I'm not going to have an intro or anything.
We're just jumping right in. I think they like that. We hope that later we'll record just a little bit for the podcast and tack it on the end of this story.
Yeah, right.
Just midnight or at the end of the night.
Yeah, how things went.
How our investigation's going.
That sounds like a good plan.
But let's learn the history first so we know what we're doing.
Okay, so like I said a second ago, we are going to be investigating the beautiful S.K. Pierce house in Gardner, Massachusetts. Sometimes it's only being referred to as the Haunted Victorian, and let me just say it's quite popular amongst ghost hunters in the area. The house is in a few books and even on a few shows, so you might have heard of it.
A few times.
A few times. Anyways, what about this S.K. Pierce guy anyways? Who was he? Well, Sylvester, as his mom would have called him, was a wealthy and successful businessman who owned the S.K. Pierce and Sons Furniture Company. The success of the company and the furniture industry actually led to Gardner, Massachusetts being known as Chair City.
That's just like, I don't want my town to be known for that.
You know, I have to say, I don't think anyone actually called it Chair City. I think
you just made that up.
Yeah, this one person went around trying to make it a thing. Maybe it was Sylvester. We should put that out as one of our questions tonight.
I just realized there's bungee cords around that headstone right there trying to hold it together.
Yeah.
That's, aw, poor thing.
At least someone's coming back and trying to
do something about it.
Yeah.
Sorry. Here we go.
Okay, so in 1874, Pierce decided that he should build a mansion befitting a man of his public stature. And where else should a house this masterful be built than right across the street from his very successful chair manufacturing company? But as it turns out, there's already another house there. So Pierce purchased the circa 1820 house on the corner of Union Street and West Broadway and moved it down the road and built his mansion on its foundation. The mansion turned out to be 6,661 square feet.
Shit.
I said it was huge, right?
This is going to be insane.
It's also the sign of the devil. It has 10 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, thank God. And it took 200 men a year and a half to build it.
Damn.
And by golly, it was worth it. Hand-carved moldings, cornices are still found throughout this beautiful home today, and the painstaking detail that was used to create every inch of this masterpiece, from the master bedroom to the servants' quarters, remains evident in the house to this day. It's beautiful, basically is what I'm trying to say.
I got you.
And because Pierce already had the convenience of living across the street from his company, he also had a tunnel built that led from the basement of his home to the entrance of the chair factory. This was why he needed that property so bad. I mean, honestly. Because his ass wasn't about to be shoveling shit when it came to winter.
No, and I totally get that, but it's very suspect.
It is kind of weird. So that's why there's a lot of rumors and stories about that tunnel, because why would a man get all dressed up in his suit to crawl through a dirty ass tunnel? I don't know. But yeah, there's a lot of rumors about that tunnel. And being that I'm a New Englander now, I can understand why it would be way better to crawl through that tunnel than to suffer through shoveling the snow every day.
Yeah. I get it.
Yeah. So soon as this commanding structure was finally completed, well, everyone wanted to step inside it. Plus, for a time, it was actually a meeting place for the Freemasons. So people like President Calvin Coolidge, Minnesota Fats, Bette Davis, P.T. Barnum, and Norman Rockwell have all graced this one-of-a-kind home.
I love Norman Rockwell. That's
I know,
awesome.
isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Let me give you something else to love. Side note already, because I was not familiar with Minnesota Fats, so I had to look him up. It turns out he's a pool player with a really sweet nickname. He actually took his name from the 1961 movie The Hustler, in which he felt Jackie Gleason's character was based on him.
Somebody's full of themselves.
He was. Later in his life, he moved to Nashville, Tennessee, and he got married. And this is why I had to tell you this. Etta James believed that Minnesota Fats, real name Rudolph Wanderone Jr., was actually her biological father.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that cool?
That is cool.
It has nothing to do with S.K. Pierce, guys. I just love that part of the history.
Just fun facts.
He was actually laid to rest in Nashville, Tennessee, and his alias list is actually quite lengthy. It includes New York Fats, Broadway Fats, Chicago Fats, Double Smart, and Triple Smart Fats.
That one's my favorite.
That's your favorite? Well, hold on a second.
Okay.
As I was really only telling you all of that, not because it has anything to do with the paranormal, but because I didn't see New England Fats on that list. So, my friends, I'm claiming that one. Anywho, Pierce, his wife Susan, and their son Frank all moved into this great big home. They didn't do it alone. They also brought in a few hired servants, and one of them was a young girl from Nova Scotia by the name of Maddie Cornwall. She was 19 years old and helped with a variety of chores, cooking, mail delivery, and most importantly, being a nanny. Now, Cornwall was sadly one of the first residents of the Pierce mansion to pass away. She was said to have really loved the house as well as her employer, and because of her dedication to the Pierce family home, Cornwall's spirit is commonly thought to be the one that's been keeping order long after her earthly body ceased to exist. Owners and visitors to the mansion claim to have been scolded or told to leave by a shadowy woman servant. She's been known to warn others of Mr. Pierce's intolerance for dogs running around and has been seen by passersby looking out of the window as well as passing through the hallways of this great mansion. She's often making herself seen and scolds anyone who seems to be fooling around just as if Maddie was still on the clock.
Maddie sounds like a Karen.
She does.
Calm down.
She does sound like a Karen.
Just a little bit. She hates dogs. No, she says he hates dogs.
She says he doesn't like them. So she's just like, I don't want to get in trouble for you being an asshole.
Well.
So take that shit somewhere else, down to the basement, please. So going back to the Pierce family, and at this time, they lose their first family member, Susan Pierce. Susan was suddenly taken away from them after mysteriously contracting a bacterial infection. After Susan passes away in 1876, Sylvester was left to grieve with his then 20-year-old son, Frank. Pierce later remarries a younger lady by the name of Ellen West, and together they have two sons, Stuart and Edward. Stuart, who is also given Sylvester's middle name, Knowlton, which helps to add a little bit more confusion to things, having the same initials. Both of them are SKs. Now, Ellen moves in and hopes to have this fantastic new life with her husband in this great new house, but she's not very well received within the community. I mean, it seems like she did everything in her power to be what everyone expected, but she was never really accepted, and things were just pretty hard for her.
They don't say why, like she was a hussy before she was married him for money, or they just were that close to Susan that it was hard to let go, because I can see that.
That might have had a part of it, but she came into the marriage, and I believe she was 28, which was 30 years younger than Mr. Pierce. And Mr. Pierce's son, Frank, was 26. So I think that people were just kind of like, oh, you know, you're coming in, a young thing, going to take over. Like, I just think she had a hard enough time. And it's really sad for her because I think that she was in love and she just did everything she could to be a good wife and follow through with everything properly. But it just never really worked out for her.
Judgy ass people, man.
A lot of judgy ass people. So anyway, S.K. Pierce passes away from typhoid pneumonia in 1888 at the age of 67, which was only 6 years after his youngest son was born, and now 26 years after his oldest son. Huge age gap here. So as you can guess, there was a lot of family drama. Not to mention, but like I mentioned a second ago, Frank, who wasn't exactly ecstatic when Pops married a girl that was only a few years older than him, well, he started lots of issues and even attempted to claim guardianship over his half-brothers. Although this was all in vain, as Ellen won those court battles.
I'm semi-surprised that she won. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's some bullshit that you think you could even do that.
Come in and take it. I think at the time, Frank might have already had ownership in his chair business too. So he was trying to come in and say, no, I got control.
Of her children?
Exactly.
Jesus Christ, man.
Thank you. I'm glad that you said that because that's exactly how she felt about it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have the money, man, which I'm sure she needed stuff to live on
Yeah.
and to raise her son. They shouldn't have to go live in a shack or something.
Right, exactly.
But I mean, taking the kid, it's kind of like, we don't need you, but I'll take him.
Right.
That's not right.
It's not right. And it's also kind of telling to come and sit here at the gravesite and know that Frank is all the way over there. And, wife number 2, Ellen, is right here sitting with SK, both SKs, because we have Stuart and Sylvester. So I think that Frank was just a very angry, it probably confused kid too. I mean, I don't know the times, but it was him and his mom and his dad, and suddenly his mom is gone. And then 2 years later, his dad moves on. I mean,
sure, that's a rough situation. But I mean, wow. He tried to take that kid because he was just trying to eliminate her so that she couldn't get anything.
You got it.
But he was still taking care of his blood.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was just very dramatic. And it doesn't seem like it was a good situation.
Like moms are just throwaways.
Yeah, right. I don't like that at all. Let's get him fired up for tonight.
Well, he's over there. We should have been talking shit at his. No, that's rude.
Now, when Ellen Pierce passes away in 1902, the 3 sons bicker over ownership of the mansion and the chair business. However, the Great Depression ended up stifling the business, and eventually SK's youngest son, Edward, took control of the mansion. Edward moved into the house with his wife and daughters, though tragedy once again struck the Pierce family. They lost their 2-year-old daughter, Rachel, to a horrible gastrointestinal infection. And when Edward's wife, Bessie, died in 1951, things just took a turn for the worse.
Just so everybody knows, there's some children running through the graveyard. I don't think they're
sure
ghosts.
They're children?
They're very bright colored clothes. They should be glowing and flowing.
But wear their masks.
Yeah. Where are your masks?
They're going to come over here and irritate us. I know it. They're going to be like, hey, what are you doing in the graveyard?
With those microphones.
All right, I'll just pretend to ignore them. Maybe they'll think we're the ghosts. So the mansion underwent hard times, and the family fortune began dwindling away. Edward turned the mansion into a boarding home.
There's a
fucking
fucking
turtle?
Oh
my God.
This podcast is over with. Oh my God, it's right there.
No, we missed it.
It'll probably still be there.
Those kids are just fucking with us. You know that, right? I don't know where I was.
Sorry. The turtle was very distracting.
So the mansion underwent hard times and the family fortune began dwindling away. Edward turned the mansion into a boarding home where it continued to decline. Rough characters enter into this once marvelous mansion, giving it some of the more sinister stories that we've come to know about the mansion today. As Edward becomes penniless and the house repairs and maintenance become too much for him to bear, he allegedly loses the house in a poker game to a man named Jay Stemmerman. But he was able to remain a tenant in the house while living in the basement free of charge.
That's like gambling. It's bad for you.
PSA. Now, Jay was a wealthy man by his own right and would bring another layer of intrigue to the Victorian. And yet he allegedly abandoned the house in the 80s. I say allegedly because there's a gray area as to whether the card game win of the house actually took place. Some say Edward sold it to him for $1 or just gave it to him out of desperation, though others claim that Jay never actually owned it. Regardless of how it ended up this way, it did sit empty for nearly 20 years, all while Jay's very intriguing art, which includes portraits of half women, half beasts, as well as full-blown orgy scenes. I have to get my voice loud down because there's like kids.
What? Orgies? Full-blown, you say? Full-blown. Half women, half beast orgy scenes.
No, they were just going through the pile. It's like, okay, there's a half woman, half beast. Oh my goodness, and that's a full-blown orgy scene. Okay, and what's next? Another half woman, half beast. Got it. I see what this guy was into. All of these portraits seem to stay tucked away inside the mansion during these 20 years. And due to the graphic nature of the paintings, many people wondered what else had transpired during that time frame. So let's rewind a little bit and go back to that time frame of which I am referring to so that I can tell you a little bit more about some of the rather unsettling occurrences which have allowed the manifestations of darker entities to still reside within the mansion. So back when the mansion was the seedy boarding house, a lady that has only been identified as a prostitute was said to have been found strangled to death in the infamous Red Room on the second floor. Her body had been hidden inside the closet of that room, and even though the murderer did not live at the boarding house, it's thought that both his and the victim's spirits remain. Over the years, the murderer has been given a name as it has come through spirit box recordings and through psychic mediums as David. And though many feel that David continues to stalk the second floor, his may not actually be the angry spirit that many have encountered. Additional psychics and paranormal investigations during the mansion have had more dealings with whom they feel is the murdered prostitute than with her murderer. And I can understand why. She's more likely to be the pissed off ghost. First, nobody knows her name. One psychic medium felt it could have been Rita, but that's all anyone's ever gotten. Second, her death is awful suspicious. Given that there is no record of a woman's body actually being found in the mansion, we only have a story that she was found in the closet. This is like the busiest fucking graveyard ever.
This is what you guys do in New England, is you bring your kids to the graveyard to play. There's no playgrounds. I guess they're closed down because of the virus.
Everyone's closed down.
So they're climbing on stuff over there.
That's why the shit is breaking.
They're like on like a really big rock. I don't know.
I go to graveyards all the time. They're never this busy, ever.
This is kind of wild. Just everybody just walking through here. But I just figured you got graveyards littered everywhere.
Littered.
I mean, it's kind of hard not to run into one.
Okay, so second, her death is awful suspicious, given that there is no record of a woman's body actually having ever been found in the mansion. We only have a story that she was found in the closet, though many speculate that while she may have been killed there, they feel that her body was removed from the mansion before being found, because if there was a woman that had been found dead in the mansion, it would have been all over the place. The news, the papers, everyone in town would have known about it.
Yeah.
So where did the story actually come from? We don't know. There have been a lot of psychics that have come up with their theories, as psychics do. I don't know. How does that work?
Telepathy?
I don't know how psychics get their messages.
Right.
But some even are suspicious that maybe the prostitute that was murdered there was actually from a different time. So this might have not even taken place during the time frame of the boarding house.
Before he bought the house.
Right. Because there was another house previous to that. And he just was like, that's not my style, peace, and pushed it away. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the ghosts went with the house.
No. It
They
never
might
does.
have been right there with that location. So
yeah, it doesn't have to be necessarily connected to his story.
right. So that's a really, really weird one. But a lot of people have felt the presence of this prostitute there. She's a very prominent spirit. The angry ghost on the second floor has been known to get violent. There are 2 claims of being pushed while at the top of the stairs, and another who claimed to feel ghostly hands trying to push them out of a window.
Ooh, no, that's not. I mean, the stairs aren't cool either.
No.
But I mean,
Yeah, one of these accounts was really descriptive too. She said that she felt a hand around her face and neck as if they were pulling her down, trying to throw her down the stairs.
wow.
So it's not like I got a tap, I lost my balance. Like,
Yeah.
they're like, I felt it all over. And the witnesses too were like, she was jerked. So that's why I'm saying we have to be very careful around the stairs
I got it. And windows.
and windows. And then there is the Finnish immigrant, Eno Sari. He was found dead in the master bedroom after apparently burning to death in 1963.
Ooh,
So-
wait, burning to death in the house?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, you didn't know that one?
I guess I just don't remember it.
Yeah, he burned to death in the house, and his story is also a little messy because of how he died. His story suggests that because there was such little damage actually done to the room's interior, that he actually found himself a victim of spontaneous human combustion.
See, that sounds familiar. I think maybe I had heard that.
Right?
Yeah.
However, since it's also said that he was a heavy drinker and a smoker, that he was just inebriated, fell asleep with a lit cigarette. I don't know. There was no forensics done on that one, but another psychic that visited the house indicated that his death was an accident.
Well, even if you were drunk and you dropped your cigarette, that's an accident.
That's what I'm saying.
And spontaneous combustion, also accident.
Well, I mean,
Didn't do that on purpose.
no, definitely wouldn't. It's a good point.
So good guess, psychic.
Also, Eno is said to have been a moonshiner and would hide his alcohol in the basement. He was a veteran, and during this time in the mansion, he tried to keep mostly to himself. In the afterlife, he seems to be pretty grouchy. They say that because he is thought to say some pretty harsh things during EVP sessions, especially when asking him about drinking or booze or making any indication that he was a drunk. He gets pissy. Eno Sari is not buried here. He's buried at the Wildwood Cemetery, also in Gardner, Mass. Stories of his room include the strong smell of burning. Many describe it as like a campfire smell, which I think is totally fine. I don't think we would be staying there if the report was smells like human flesh burning. It's like, no, we don't want any part of that. Thank you.
Yeah, I like the way campfire smell.
Another story is of a young boy that apparently drowned in the basement cistern. Though not much is known of the young boy, both his spirit and that of a young girl's, who many think is Rachel, who is Edward's daughter, both haunt the mansion. They are said to be very playful and have from time to time allowed themselves to be photographed.
That's nice of them.
Mhm.
I like them a lot.
Yes.
I'm glad I brought them a teddy bear.
Yes, that's a really good plan.
I have to remember to put batteries in it.
Okay. On one occasion, a small woman in Victorian dress and a young boy had both appeared in the picture of a mirror in the parlor. So they were actually just taking pictures
Yeah,
throughout,
yeah.
and bam, in that mirror, there happens to be this little girl in a Victorian-style dress and a little boy. And finally, there were bones found in the basement. Are they human? We don't really know. So the former owners of the mansion, and there have been many, so I'm just referring to Edwin and Lillian, they both had so many bizarre accounts here that they'd need a book to tell you all about it. And there is one. It's called Bones in the Basement, Surviving the S.K. Pierce Haunted Victorian Mansion. It's by Joni Mahan, and it's pretty good. There you go.
I like the title.
It's very descriptive. Like, you know what you're getting into with that one.
Yes.
So I have to tell you about this one part that I really enjoyed. It's when Lillian became entranced, I guess I should say. I'm condensing this down so that I don't give you away the whole thing. If you want to read this book, then just know that this is just a very small portion of it. There's a lot more details that I just decided to leave out. So one morning, Lillian gets all dressed up, super nice, right? Like dress clothes, big earrings, like she was going out, makeup, hair done, everything. Whole 9 yards.
She's going to Target.
Well, so that's the thing. Edwin asks, where are you going? She doesn't respond, at all. He asks her again, and she still doesn't respond. He's like, okay, then fine. Maybe he did something wrong. He goes about his day. He works from home, and he notices at one point that her car is still outside. So he's like, what the hell? Where did she go then? He didn't hear from her or see her. So Edwin starts searching the house from top to bottom. He finally goes into the basement looking for her, and he finds his wife in her nice clothes, covered in soot, while she's digging in this old, ash bin. He stops her, asks her what the hell she's doing, and she stops and blankly looks at him and quietly says, I don't know. He asks her again, and this time he's more worried about her, and she just stares at him and very snappy-like just says, leave me alone, I have to find it. And he's like, whoa, don't even know what the hell's going on. So after time goes by, she admits that she didn't even know what the hell she was doing. She didn't know what she was looking for. She didn't know what was going on. But she comes up, and she's super happy because she found something. She ends up retrieving 3 things. One of them, I don't remember what it is. So there you go. I'm not going to spoil the whole story.
A mystery item.
Mystery item. One of them is a garter belt clip. And, of course, the other one is a pelvic bone.
Oh.
Right. Neither one of them are doctors, but she just knows it's a pelvic bone, right? So she takes a picture of it, shows it to a doctor. Doctor's like, yeah, that's a pelvic bone. So she's like, see, I was right. It's pelvic bone. Done. They end up taking it to the cops. Unfortunately, that's kind of where that tale ends. Goes to the cops. The cops never call them, never tell them anything. So they end up following up with the cops. And the cops are like, yeah, it wasn't human. Done. Case closed. That's
What?
it. But they took her bone. So
That's odd.
it was really odd. And as all of these weeks went on, Lillian's having more and more thoughts that it had something to do with a child. She keeps sensing it has something to do with a child. The whole story about the little boy drowning always really bothered her, and she wanted to know more about it. Maybe there was more to it. Where did this boy come from? How come nobody ever reported him missing? Where's the story?
Yeah.
And now all sorts of people actually talk about seeing this little boy. He's been described as the boy in blue, meaning he was seen wearing all blue clothing while his hair is yellow, while other kids, lots of kids have actually spotted him, but have described him as having blonde hair, but wearing a white shirt and black shorts. Unfortunately, Lillian never really made contact with the little boy, but she had also been warned by different psychics about the entity not being at all what it seemed.
Well, remember, we've talked about this before, that there's a lot of spirits, and they don't come in full bodies or anything like that,
Right.
but they've caught a lot of blue lights.
Yes.
So if the other people caught them in one kind of form, and then you know how children, they say they're more sensitive, so
Right.
they're seeing it more clearly,
Yes.
or it's the devil. Or a demon.
Or it's a demonic
Yeah,
entity.
it's one of those things, I guess.
I don't know. So many people have alluded to it being a demonic entity, but I don't know. I don't really catch that vibe. There's bad things that are going on there for sure, but the doors were slamming in threes, and they roll up the whole, the mocking of the Trinity. So they want to say that, but I don't know if that's really the case here. When I was there that night, it was actually pretty calm.
Yeah.
Except for being in the basement, and I felt like it was more of children running around.
Yeah.
So,
I don't think demons just work seasonally,
Yeah.
or,
No.
they have a target that they're only coming out when it's I hate redheads. If there's a redhead here tonight, this shit's going down.
I
I
love that
feel like
analogy.
it would be a lot more chaotic.
yeah. And I'm not trying to push any of these psychics theories away. I do know where they're coming from, and maybe they hadn't had a feeling to warn her. Maybe they were just letting her know, hey, sometimes it's not what it seems. I don't know. I wasn't there.
Well, yeah, always proceed with caution,
Yeah,
for
right.
sure, when you're dealing with the unknown.
You're right. So let's go podcast in the graveyard.
The unknown of the whole fucking neighborhood
know.
coming in here.
Everyone's here. You know what? They saw someone from New Hampshire roll up, and they're like, we got to check this shit out. Who's here? So either way, Lillian and Edwin both had enough of the house finally, and they left. They rented it out for ghost tours periodically, and they had a friend check on it. But for them, they'd had enough. They never came back. They left it. They moved back to Boston. End of story.
Fair enough. If I'm going into trances and digging in my basement in my finest clothes, then
I know.
I maybe need to seek some help.
Yeah.
A little vacay from that.
You would think that that would be the reason for them to leave. They stayed on much longer after that.
I imagine, well, you try to write it off at first.
They did.
And then when activity continues,
Yeah.
I'm sure you're constantly reminded of the severe actions that have happened and how bad it could get.
Yes.
And then psychics are telling them other things and,
Yeah.
scaring them.
It was constant for them. Yeah, you're right.
It takes a long time to sell a house, too. I mean,
Shit.
they
They
didn't sell it. That's right.
They
right,
couldn't,
right,
yeah. They had a hard time selling it, too. I think that they finally sold it to, like, maybe it was the tour group who I thought you had rented it out from, the Dark, a Carnival, or whomever.
I don't even know who we're about to give money to.
Someone
but
hopefully
they're going to let us in the house. You never hear from us again.
Right, exactly. This is the last you'll hear from us. Oh my God. That's so funny. Where was I? Okay. Over the years, guests and owners, psychics, and paranormal investigators have all felt confident in their experiences to deem the mansion haunted. The ghosts of S.K. Pierce himself, Susan Pierce, Edward Pierce, Maddie Cornwall, a gentleman named David who is believed to have been the Red Room Strangler, as well as the prostitute he murdered, a young boy, a young girl, possibly Rachel, Eno Sari, and an additional array of unnamed entities that aid in the paranormal activity throughout the house and basement, which have yet to be identified.
That's a zoo over there.
It is a zoo. That's why I'm saying, like, there should be so much going on. It should be unmanageable. Guests of the Haunted Victorian have experienced everything from hearing chanting voices, seeing full-body apparitions, furniture that moves on its own accord. Screens have flown off of the windows, doors slam, the sounds of footsteps on the stairs and in the halls, sudden temperature changes, odd smells, shadow people, and an ominous lion's roar, which was actually said to shake the whole house. But they really felt that it was Mr. Pierce himself just really pissed off at everything that was being done, the paranormal tours, the state of the house, like things like that. They felt like it was a buildup of energy and it just exploded one day.
That's fucking wild.
I know. That is wild. That a ghost would have that much energy.
That's a wild claim.
It is a wild claim.
But you remember, it wasn't obviously this house, but Katrina and Nick Groff, they were in some house, I think Hinsdale House, maybe. And they said that, like, they heard a noise and it vibrated the walls.
Yeah.
But that was the first time I've ever heard someone, make that kind of claim.
Yeah.
So I did not know this about this house.
Yeah.
I can't wait for it to shake all over the place.
I mean, we've had an experience, too, where I felt a voice come through the recorder and it vibrated.
Yeah, but like in your hand,
right.
not shaking
not
the whole
house. Right. So paranormal investigators have said that the entities in this mansion are the most advanced that they have ever seen, as they are capable of harnessing electrical energy and converting that power into the ability to move large objects and impose their will physically on the current surroundings. Previous homeowners have taken great strides in uncovering the secrets of the home. Well-known paranormal groups such as Ghost Hunters, Ghost Adventures, and My Ghost Story have visited the home to learn all about these hauntings. The stories of the home have also been put to print, like I mentioned earlier. Bones in the Basement Surviving the S.K. Pierce Haunted Victorian, that was Joni Mahan, which only chronicled the previous owner's experiences, and I enjoyed that on Audible while I was kayaking. It's quite nice. There is also another book, but I apologize that I don't have the author's name. It's called Haunted Massachusetts. The S.K. Pierce house has been cited as the number 2 most haunted house in Massachusetts, next to Lizzie Borden's Bed and Breakfast. And it is the 9th most haunted house in the USA. I don't know, whatever.
Well, we know the first one. It's the Myrtles, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Because they claimed it first.
That's right.
That's it.
So, like I said earlier, I've been to the house before. It was on a tour. It wasn't like a real paranormal investigation. There were paranormal investigators there. There was a medium. But it was more about just experiencing the home for me because there was just too many people there to really do an investigation. The people there were phenomenal. Very animated paranormal investigators. So they were trying to spice things up and make it a fun night. I liked them all. I had no complaints about any of them. It was a really great experience for me, mostly just to get in that house and to do what I could do with a humongous amount of people. I swear there must have been like 25 others there. So the paranormal group that I teamed up with, we all found each other through 555 Productions. This was a film company and they did actually film my time there. So I have a DVD that took, I think, a year to collect afterward, but I do have it.
We understand it takes a long time to edit,
It
though.
does take a long ass time to edit, so that I understand. And before I visited the house for the tour, the only thing I had known about it was basically what I had seen on Ghost Hunters and Ghost Adventures. And really, I was just as captivated by the mansion as Lillian was when she and Edward saw it for the first time and decided that they had to move from Dorchester in Massachusetts all the way to Gardner just to own this beautiful Victorian house. I couldn't wait to see it in person myself, so searched online for ways to do tours, and that's how I come across the 555 Productions. So I spoke with Brandy Wells over the phone. She was the empath or the medium who's also part of the 555 Productions, and I let her know that I'd be coming by myself, but I would like to do a Skype event with my best friend. And she was like, no hesitation. Yeah, sure, let's do it. It's fine. What? Okay. I thought for sure she'd be like, let me check, or, whatever. No, she was super cool, no hesitation. So I did the tour of the house, and everything that I told you, for the most part, I had learned from that tour. The rest of it I learned from the book. But I packed up my diaper bag full of gear and made it there to the mansion with Wendy in tow. And at the end of the night, I was able to do my own Skype investigation with Wendy. So, the night was unfortunately not extremely active, though at the same time, it was incredibly interesting. Like I said, I learned so much from being on that tour than I had prior to ever going there. And with all great respect to the paranormal team that was conducting the investigation that night, you can't make ghosts appear on command.
We tried.
We know that. It
a
doesn't
lot.
work.
We try a lot.
All the time. I just did it a minute ago. It didn't work. And personally, I feel like even though a house that size can 100% hold that many people, I felt like there were just too many people there trying to do too many different techniques throughout the house, trying to communicate with spirits, which probably either confused the spirits or just bothered them, so they didn't want to interact. You got people in the basement, people on the main floor, people on the second floor, and everyone's like, come talk to me, come talk to the spirit box, come make these lights, come do this, So they were probably just like, man, this is my night off.
Yeah, my cat loves me, but it doesn't love a crowd.
They weren't having none of it.
They scattered.
Now, having said that, on my tour, I was still able to catch a few EVPs. While in the basement, I got a voice that says, hello. I got another voice that says, they're all just standing there.
They just think paranormal investigators are a bunch of douches.
Pretty much.
They're like, they're not entertaining us at all.
No, right. That was one of my favorites because it's so point blank, like, what the hell? Where's our entertainment? I got a low, inaudible whisper that I couldn't make out and a dog bark.
Those dogs,
I
man.
love it. Yeah, those dogs, exactly. While we were down in the basement, the group that I was with and myself all smelled cigar smoke. We also felt several cold spots, but this is a basement. So that's a tough one to really say, was it a cold spot or is it just air shifting around the basement with 25 other people? So we moved up to the main level. I got a few more EVPs. An investigator with another group is talking while we're moving through there. And she asks if somebody is here with her right now. And as I'm walking by, I catch a voice that says, she is here. And I'm like, yes, I am. Hello, I have arrived. Into the library, I got another couple of EVPs. It's a weird whispery voice this time, and it says, have your niece. I don't know if there was an I in front of that didn't get caught. But yeah, have your niece. Again, well, I told Wendy this earlier, but I didn't tell you guys. Apparently the library, according to these paranormal investigators that I was with, was one of their usual most active rooms. David was a paranormal investigator. Don't get him confused with the murderer. He was the one that we had at that moment, and he was so apologetic. Again, I understand. Ghosts don't appear on command, and it didn't seem like the people that were there were just like, you make those ghosts appear or I'm walking. But I think he felt like he was trying to give us a good show, and things weren't working out. And my heart went out to him. He seems like a good enough guy. So just as David says, I'm so sorry, it's just been dead all night.
Weird choice of words.
And he did say that. He was like, sorry, no pun intended. There was a cold breeze that everyone felt at the same time. And we were doing a spirit box session and they saw us. He was like, wait a second.
You're like, no, I didn't actually.
We didn't see you.
Could you do it again?
Do it again. But I like that it was a cold spot and then it was they saw us.
Followed by something. Yeah.
Now, upstairs in the closet where women are often said to feel oppressed, and at the time I recorded this EVP, I was actually Skyping with Wendy, and we were joking around. It was very late. We weren't really feeling anything. Actually, we felt pretty comfortable. We had just kind of talked about the history and how we would feel about being caught in a closet like that. And like I said, we're joking and being silly, and I got an EVP that says, damn it. So someone might have been pissed off that we were being silly instead of actually trying to communicate because they were like, I was here this time. And finally, at the very end of the night, while my own free roam investigation was nearing its end, and I made my way to the room where all our snacks and coffee were all located, I caught a very nasty EVP with a grumbly male voice that said, fuck you.
Ooh.
And it's like, fuck you. Like, oh.
He's probably pissed there was no gluten-free snacks there.
Oh, no. That's the funny thing. So actually, me and you were talking at the time about all the snacks that we saw in the break room. And you're like asking about certain chips. And I had brought them. And you were like, we should take them. We should take all those snacks or whatever. And we're just joking around. And that's when I got it.
Oh, he's mad.
Yeah, he
we were
didn't
about
like
to
that.
steal from him.
Uh-huh. So I have to go to our website, IBelieveInGhosts.com, a golden oldie, because I didn't do my due diligence and download these pictures so that I could show Wendy as I was discussing them. Thank God there is internet here in the graveyard. All right. So on, April 8th, 2017, it's the last case file that's on IBelieveInGhosts.com, and that is because it takes us forever to put anything up on this site. It's like a DOS version of of creating a website. It was created 10 years ago, and I don't know what we're going to do in the future.
Our coder spends all his time fishing now.
Yeah. Okay, so let me see if this picture even exists on here. I didn't put it on the site. I had a picture that was kind of a weird one. It was actually pretty neat. Because like I said before, kids are known to show themselves in the pictures. I caught a bizarre image of what looks like someone peering around one of our paranormal guides, David, while on the main floor. Now, my picture was a little grainy. I was using a Sony night vision camera that I love and will still continue to use because I catch things on it from time to time. And it just seems like there's someone behind David, the investigator that I was talking about, who just kind of peers around the corner. Now, I took several pictures of him back to back to back, and it's there in one picture and gone in the next.
Oh, I remember you.
Remember that
Yeah, I remember you showing this one.
It's definitely hard to look at a picture in the sunlight in the graveyard on a cell phone.
Yeah, this is why we investigate in the dark, guys. This is simply it, just so we can see these little dark images better. Yeah, I remember seeing this, though, and you could see like a shadow figure behind him, and there's no children there.
No.
So there shouldn't be anything that small, and it's in one photo and not in the other, and you're not moving because they're like talking at the time.
I was standing perfectly still. Not only do I like that it, to me, seemed like, when I saw the picture, like a kid that was peering out, I like that it was behind David. David is one of the investigators that have been to this location so many times that it almost was like, okay, I can...
Yeah, they trust him.
Yep.
He sounds like a really nice guy. He's apologizing for the ghost not giving you a show.
Right. Like, I wonder if he went there the night before and he's like, guys, please show up. I would really like to make it a fun night for these guys.
I'm bringing some friends over.
Bringing some friends over.
Could you please come out to play?
Right? He was a nice guy. I really
They're like,
liked
nah,
him.
bitch.
Nope.
We're busy. When that ghost said damn in the closet,
Yeah.
he was probably trying to hide.
Damn it. They're
Comes
in
into
here.
the closet and
I
like,
didn't think
shit.
about that.
Ah,
This is my hiding spot.
This one's taken too.
Everyone's in the closet. That's funny. So the other one that I wrote about, I got with my full spectrum camera. So, you know, the full spectrum takes images. They're kind of purple or pink when
Yeah.
they show up. But I caught an image in the window, and it looks to be a shape of a face, though there's no facial features there. Kind of how we were looking at tombstones earlier, and
Yeah,
the
the
features
stone's
kind of
worn
disappeared.
away. Yeah, so you can tell it's a face,
Right.
but all you maybe have some dark spots where the eyes are, and maybe an arch where the nose is, and that's it.
It looks like it's the cylinder shape of the head and like a neck and like maybe shoulders, but that's really all that you can see. You don't see any facial features. And again, it's a reflective surface, so you know how I feel about that, guys.
Yeah.
But there are other people that are reflecting in the window and you can see their features. So why doesn't his show up? I don't
is
know.
it faceless? Yeah.
It's a questionable photo, but it's another one that I got, so I am telling you about it. I got a fantastic light anomaly on my full spectrum in the basement too. It's a small white glowing mist that also appears to have a trail of light as it seems to be moving. I took it with the full spectrum. I really like that picture because it's like a bright, sudden image that just appeared while I'm snapping away with my full spectrum.
Yeah.
And it's in the basement and it's low to the ground. Children, just saying. And then I got one so weird that the 555 Productions asked if they could use it to promote the house.
Yeah, guys, you didn't know we were famous.
Yeah, right? Famous by the 555 Productions, who works out of Keene, New Hampshire. So in the upstairs room where you have to ask for permission to enter. Yes, I didn't say that earlier, but the paranormal group that was with me that night informed me that it was a wise decision to ask for permission going into there because the spirit will be angry with you if you do not ask for permission. So following his instructions based on all the other things that I'd heard about the house, I asked for permission every single time. And nothing happened to me.
Yeah, we don't want to fall down those stairs.
No, I don't. Don't want to get hurt. So in that room, using the full spectrum camera again, I caught a wispy dark mass. It's odd. No one claimed to see or feel anything, and I didn't see it with my own eyes. Only after taking the pictures and reviewing them back home did I see it. Do you need to see that one again, or you know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about, yeah.
Yeah, I sent it over to the 555 Productions. They looked at it and they're like, what the hell is this? Like, what is it? It is bizarre. It has shape to it. You can see, like I said, it's black and wispy. So it looked like it was something that would have been like maybe even a curtain blowing in the breeze. But it's not facing a window where I took the picture. I'm actually facing the fireplace. So it's odd. And one more picture that I got that I really, really liked, and I saw it at the same time that I captured it, though no one else felt as strongly about it as I did. It's in the finished room upstairs that faces the street. There is this large, shadowy hand that appears in the upper left corner of the picture, and also a shadow on the door. Remind me to show you that one so you can see what I'm talking about and see if it's worthy for the internet to see it just yet. Because just because I like it doesn't mean that everyone else is, or that it was actually paranormal. Like I said, I saw it the moment I took it, and I showed it to people because it didn't make sense how that hand just appeared the way that it appeared.
Yeah.
And then off to the side on the door, it does appear like there's a shadow. So it's a questionable photo, but again, I was on a tour, so I was just gonna be happy with whatever evidence I was walking away with.
Especially since visual evidence is just about all that you could really use.
Right.
I mean, yes, EVPs if they're loud and direct and you knew you were alone in that room.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, you saw that with your own eyes. Why are you even questioning it? I mean, like, yes, everything is questionable,
right,
and open for interpretation. But I mean, we of course should post it.
It's just
and get other people's opinion.
Nobody else like reacted to it the way I did, and I'm
of
just
the
like
25 people you were with,
right,
we can get the thousands of people on the internet get their opinion.
Right. Then I will. I'll post it out there for everyone to see, and you guys tell me if I'm just bonkers. So that's all that I got on the tour, and that's pretty substantial for a tour, I'd say. It's not the first time we've walked away from a tour with evidence. You just have to understand going in that there are plenty of things you might take as being paranormal that are just actually normal. You know, we go on tours all the time, and we've said that before. Go on the tour. Get a feel for the place. Experience it like you can, and then try to go back by yourselves like what Wendy and I are doing tonight.
Yeah, before you roll out that big money to get it all to yourself, to get a little taste first. It's a taste test.
Right. So like I said, guys, I had to make this short and sweet. That's it in a nutshell. Wendy and I are going to run. We're going to go and investigate this location. Well, actually, they're going to give us a tour of it. Not like I already gave you the tour. You just have to, I guess, see it with your own eyeballs.
I actually don't know for sure that they're going to give us. I don't know anything.
Oh, really? We don't even know if when we give them money, they're going to give us the keys. They're just going to say, thanks.
Oh, no. I'll hand the money over when we're in the house.
Oh, okay.
And then they'll murder us.
Oh, my God. So since I've run out of things to tell you and we need to get to our investigation, I think I'll just say thank you so much again for joining us. And please feel free to comment on any of the pictures or EVPs that I mentioned earlier. Hopefully there will be plenty more to come. We'll post those on our Instagram under COTN_paranormal and Facebook and Twitter as COTN Paranormal. Please be sure to like and subscribe to our podcast and let us know what you think. And again, you can always write to us. It's creaturesofthenightparanormal@gmail.com if you hadn't heard it before. And that's it. Let's go.
That is it. We're going to go. And just again, if you didn't catch it in the beginning, apologize if we are not able to edit out the street noise.
And the wind.
But we are on location for you guys. Been attacked by bugs this whole time. So
this is as live as it gets for us.
That's how hardcore we are. All right. That's it.
Cool.
Thanks.
That's it.
Bye.
Bye. All right. So we did it.
No, you got to make the noise.
Oh.
Yeah, what was it?
And we did it. So we were in a graveyard. We were podcasting. We went and did a paranormal investigation at the S.K. Pierce house. And now we're back at the hotel. Not the same day, but.
Yeah, it's obviously. Well, our investigation didn't end until like 2. And then we drove back to the hotel. And we must have brought some ghosts with us because we broke our hotel room.
Yeah, we got back to the hotel room and none of the lights worked. And that's not true, actually. Only the lights that were along the wall stopped working. But you could go over to the lamp and turn the lamp on.
Right. We blew a fuse for all the overhead lighting. And then at 2 o'clock in the morning, well, past that, because drive home and everything, we had to get the hotel to switch us to a new room.
Oh, yeah, that was fun.
Because nobody wants to go to the bathroom in the dark.
No, and I have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, and from the stories that we always tell and how much ghosts love to hang out in there.
Right.
Yeah.
We need them lights on. So we just assumed that they beat us back to the hotel just to have a little funsies with us.
I think they came just whoosh, right in and said, I'll take this, because they took our fucking battery power all goddamn night.
Goddamn night. It was ridiculous.
It was ridiculous. But before we get into kind of our experiences that we had during our investigation, I guess we should do kind of a correction corners in a sense. I mean, you wouldn't have known. And how do we know it's even completely true? But we got some stories different from what we told earlier in this podcast, right?
And I'm not even going to call it a corrections corner, because if you go on the internet, what I told you, that's what you're going to find. So the only way you're going to know any more of that is if you go and you talk to Kenny and Mimi like we did. And they are the ones that are, talking to the descendants of S.K. Pierce, the descendants of J. Summerman. And Eno Sorry, and they're getting more of the story as they go along. And I mean, that stuff isn't available to the general public. So when Wendy said corrections corner, that's because when we talked to Ken, we found out that a lot of the stories that you will find out there aren't necessarily true. It's sort of like someone came in, developed this idea, and then from there, it just spread into this massive load of bullshit.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Maybe just it was the rumor that went around town after something that always happens,
Right.
Like this one little thing happens and then it blows out of proportion. It's a telephone game, and it gets like more sensationalized, or people add their own memory to it. Mm-hmm. And that's what got tossed around. So Ken's taking the time to talk to descendants and,
Well, and just also, I mean, he didn't know that information when I was there back in 2017, because the majority of the information that I got, it was between the internet and what I learned from the tour. So they were still selling that story back then too, because they didn't know anymore. It was after he did a bunch of renovations and was posting that I'm doing these renovations and I'm listing these rooms as certain people's names, that he was able to start actually opening those doors with the descendants and find out more about what actually happened at the mansion.
Right. So, and probably wasn't even a thought to him until somebody related to them. We're like, hey, you got it wrong. And he's like, I'm sorry. Now he's like, I'm gonna write a book about this and set the story straight. So when his book comes out, it'll be the first time people ever heard it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it already. Like, I'm hoping I get like a signed edition.
We get like a sneak peek of what it's gonna say. Oh, of course we're gonna tell everybody as well.
Honestly, he was just so full of information, and I really was impressed with all of the information that he was able to give us. So it was so awesome, because I had just done the podcast and I had just relayed all of the history as I knew it to that point to Wendy, and we get in there and he's like, okay, well, let me tell you what really happened. So just for example, one of the things that I started out with the podcast was how S.K. Pierce built his house right across the street from where he worked. And by doing so, he had another house that was right there moved down the street. That was one of the stories I heard when I was on the tour that Kenny and his wife were a part of. So now that he's able to find like the blueprints of the house, and he's been able to backdate all of these stories, he found out that wasn't the true story. That basically S.K. Pierce and his wife and his son Frank all lived in the house that was across the street from the factory, but he didn't own that factory at the time. He bought it afterwards.
Right.
And then he's like, and now I'm in the money, so I'm going to make me a big old house. Yeah. So he didn't have that house moved down the street. He just turned it into the S.K. Pierce mansion.
The massive house it is.
Yeah.
And also, I feel like it's a moot point. Yes, we need to get our facts straight, but it doesn't really, to me, add to the story at all.
To me, it did, because at the time, I was still under the impression that when he had moved the house, I didn't include it in my story, but what I had heard before, when he moved the house, his son Frank lived in that house. And what we found out was actually Frank lived in the house that was right behind him. Yeah. So there was no house that ever got moved. It was always his house.
Okay. Well, what were the other things? I know the prostitute strangled to death. He completely was like,
bullshit.
X.
Yeah.
All bullshit.
And I did mention that on the podcast earlier.
Right.
Was that it could have gone either way. What had happened was, to my knowledge, a psychic came in and felt like that this was one of the reasons why there's such a foreboding presence. There is someone who's always kind of angry up on the third floor. And it bled into, well, it's David, the strangler. No, then it turned into the prostitute because of nobody knowing who she really was and those types of things. But what I found was interesting. He did bring up that we needed to find out more about David. And he was asking us to try and find out a last name for him. So maybe David is one of the characters that has come through some way, somehow through spirit boxes or whatever, because him and his wife do some communication
they
there.
investigate there. So some other things that he, I guess, clarified, or he told us what he believes, is that Inusari did not spontaneous combust. It was that he fell asleep with a cigarette and the bed caught fire and he died from smoke inhalation. Also, he says that he believes that the other residents of the boarding house allowed him to die in this manner, and then they must have put the fire out because it didn't spread any further, and then they eventually called the police after he was dead, or after they put the fire out.
Right, which is actually pretty fucked up. Now, so Sari was supposed to have been a veteran, and he kind of kept himself. He was a little grumpy. I think that what we were told is that after the war, something had happened to him, so he just really wasn't like he was before the war. So
I believe he said he thought that he had suffered a head injury.
That's what I thought. Yeah, head injury. So I think that maybe he was a little different, and I don't know why, but the residents that he lived with were hateful and mean. And when he fell asleep with a cigarette, instead of them trying to put him out, they, allowed him to burn.
Yeah, which is a way darker story. It makes more sense for a haunting than spontaneous combustion, which, that's bad too.
It is.
And it's sudden, and you're like, what the fuck just happened?
But it makes more sense as to why he's kind of a grouchy spirit. If you're going up there and you're like, oh, we hear you like to drink and, blah, 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 kind of calling him out for being a drunk. They don't know the whole story. They don't know that his death was really fucked up after serving our country. And that's one of those things that once you know the truth, it allows you to be a little bit more respectful when you go into these investigations. So you're not just like, hey, I brought your favorite brand of whiskey. Want to have a chat with us?
Yeah, for sure. Hopefully that meant that we made a better connection with him.
Yeah.
So what else before we move on to what our night was like?
So we also found out through his investigations, his meaning Kenny, that he felt that the little boy that everyone refers to as being the child spirit with the blonde hair, actually a spirit that might have found his way to the house after drowning in a pond nearby. And a lot of the stories that you hear is that they feel like he drowned in the well in the house or in the cistern in the house. He doesn't feel like that's true. He feels like he came to the house and sort of latched on to Rachel, the other child entity, because she's like an adorable little 2-year-old.
Yeah.
Bouncing, happy, little curly haired. So if his spirit was kind of wandering, where do I go? I mean, there's another kid here for him to play with.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And for me, that was one of the things that I wanted to know more about, as do many people, this child spirit. And he even said there's really no malevolence going on in the house that he felt. He feels that, some of the spirits get a little grouchy, maybe a little tiffed at times, but there's no dark evil. You can piss him off just like you can piss off anybody.
Yeah, but it's been portrayed out there that there could be demonic stuff going on and blah, blah, blah. And they've been in the house a ton. He's been doing all this renovation. The house was gorgeous. Way different than how you saw it previously. And so if they haven't experienced that stuff yet.
Yeah.
He said nobody's been hurt there.
Right.
He said something about scratches. What was he trying to say?
He was basically trying to say that it's possible to get scratched, but don't take it as it being an evil situation. They could have been trying to reach out for you and you just got cut. Don't jump and freak out and think it's a demonic attack.
Yeah. Like you feel something touching you and you jump away and that causes like a scratch or something like that.
Also, he alluded to the second floor entity as most likely being that of Ellen, which was S.K. Pierce's second wife. In the book that I read, Bones in the Basement, which I mentioned earlier, Edwin talked a bunch about seeing a woman on the second floor and would hear a woman singing and also chanting. I don't know why he considered it to be chanting. Again, we talked to Kenny, who spent a ton of time in this house, and he doesn't feel that it's anything demonic or not. So it might have just been Edwin's interpretation of what he was hearing.
Yeah, like of a song.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Replaying or something like that.
Right. And everything that from what I read about Ellen, she doesn't seem like the kind of bad person. To me, she seems more like, let me just watch watch over and see what's going on.
Yeah. Kenny thought that she was really protective of
Very
the house
protective.
because she ran like a tight ship.
Mm-hmm. And then one more thing that I can think of off the top of my head was Medic Cornwall's spirit. Now, they do believe that she resides there, so much so that they've given a name to a room in the house that was not the nanny's room, but the
nursery. They tried to call it the nursery.
They called that Maddie Cromwell's room, though they aren't certain that she was actually the nanny.
I'm pretty sure he said she was not at all the nanny.
Not at all the nanny.
She was a servant in the house, but she wasn't the nanny.
Okay.
And I was like, well, then why is she on the second floor? Because you said all the servants stay upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a little weird.
Yeah.
So he gave us the history, walked us around the house. That actually took a lot of time, but we're chatty. So
yeah, he had good information.
He
too.
did. And they are really, really nice people.
They
so
really
we
are.
enjoyed our time.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden it was like go time.
Mm-hmm.
We had to run and set equipment up. So we started on the third floor.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no. Before that, while we were on the third floor in what they call the billiards room, something touched my cheek.
Yeah, that's right.
I was wearing my hair down, but I went to go brush what I thought was like a hair away from my face. And I pawed at my face for like quite some time trying to be like, wait, where is that hair?
Yeah.
And I didn't say anything because I'm like, it's just my hair. It's got to be. And I think he asked us how we were feeling or something like that. And I had been feeling dizzy since we reached the second floor. I said that. And then I said, I thought something touched my cheek, but it could have been my hair. And he goes, that happens in that room all the time.
Mm-hmm. And one more thing that we did before we ended the tour was actually to go up into the tower just to get the view of everything. And I never got a chance to go into the tower the first time I was there. It seemed to be kind of hogged by other people. So I'm fine. There's plenty of other places for me to go on the third floor, which when I was there the first time seemed actually to be the most active aside from the basement where I had a lot of activity down there. But going back to the house this time was so different because it was like a brand new house. When I was there the first time, the whole third floor was unfinished. There were times when I was walking around, I'm like, is it safe for me to be up here without the lights on? You know, am I going to fall through the floor? There was a lot of really beat up furniture too that is all gone. It's all been refinished. It is very nice up there. I bet the spirits just fucking love it now.
You would think that wallpaper was gorgeous.
Well, that too. And after the night that we had, I think that they are more active than they were when the house was deteriorating.
Yeah, I bet they're really excited about it.
Yeah.
And probably also helps. We're a small group, and then we made good friends with their friends.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, Kenny and Mimi.
Mm-hmm. So then we went off to investigate.
Yeah, so we went up in the tower and we just saw the city. We tried to do a spirit box up there, but nothing came through.
Mm-mm.
And the stairs are like a death trap
They
to
are.
clumsy people like us.
Very scary.
So we suspected that we probably would not go back to that tower again
Yeah.
in the middle of the night. That's
No.
why we did it before the lights were out.
Right, that's true. And the view is friggin' gorgeous.
Yep.
Can't be beat. It's hot as hell up there. And there's a really cute chandelier.
Yeah, there was really pretty.
You know-
So, but then we came down and we started in the
Billiards room.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm, we sure did.
Because I had gotten touched on the face. So I said, well, let's go see who that is.
Yep.
We go to turn on our cameras and then beep, boop, nothing fucking works.
Right.
All these cameras that take charged batteries
Oh, yeah.
were charged before we got there.
Totally.
Dead.
Completely.
Now, this is 3 flights of stairs
Right.
to go down. So I'm like, fuck that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, not using this camcorder. That one's working. That one's working. I'll take this camera.
Mm-hmm.
Nope. Not working, dead immediately. Okay,
Mm.
I have my cell phone.
That's right,
So
right.
I guess I'm doing that.
Uh-huh.
So for a second there, I film on my cell phone. I meet you in the billiards room. You're having trouble with your camera too.
Yep, I sure was. I've got a night vision camcorder that's on a rig alongside a full spectrum and a light that has both full spectrum and night vision. And my full spectrum was working fine. I go to use my camcorder and it's like, what do you mean night vision? What is this?
I don't understand this function. It's
Right.
the only function you probably ever put me in.
The only thing I ever use it for, it blipped off of the screen. It wasn't there. It did not exist anymore.
So we're basically in the dark.
Yeah. I got my camcorder to work after sitting there. Like I felt like I was playing with my camera forever, which is so funny because I felt like I relived this moment over and over again throughout the night with my equipment. And every single time that this happened, I was like reminded of Tombstone when I'm fucking with my light. And then all of a sudden there was the ghost. So I don't know if that was someone saying, hey, dummy, you remember what happened before? You know, messing around with me. But I got my camera to work. So I'm like, okay, great. And finally I can start rolling. And along my right arm, I felt like a light touch, kind of similar to what I assume Wendy described the light touch against her face, but like I felt almost like it was like a spider web, like there was something hanging there that I had kind of touched against. And as I circled around the room and I was reaching out with my hand for the door, I felt like I was reaching into spider web.
Which is, there's no spider webs up there. That place was so clean.
So clean. And I'm filming my hand while I'm doing it too, and there's nothing touching my hand. I was cheating. I was using my night vision camera now that it's working.
Right.
To see where I was going. This is my vision, my tiny little window vision. And actually I was reaching for the door to see how far away it was.
Oh, I remember when you were on the other side of the room and you were trying to make your way back. I'm like, are you okay? Because at that time I sat down and started using the spirit box, but I just see you like inching across the floor with your hand out. And so I'm like, do you need this flashlight? Yeah. So that was kind of amusing to me.
Well, I try to be as amusing as possible. Anyways. Yeah. So I felt that. And when my brain clicked and realized that it was spiderwebs that I was feeling and wasn't seeing, I'm like, ooh, that's a paranormal thing, right?
Yeah.
So I shouldn't be feeling that. So I stood there for a moment and I even said, touch me, guide me, take me wherever you want me to. Nothing. Okay.
I love how you're doing all this and I'm still sitting over there with headphones on with the spirit box.
You didn't hear me say that?
I did not hear you say any of that.
Oh, wow.
You said something like, no, I'm just trying to find the door. And I was like, okay. I put my other ear back on.
Oh, wow.
I'm in the same room with you. I'm like, do.
That's so funny. Oh, you didn't say anything. I thought you were watching like, what's going to happen?
No, I was just ignoring you.
No. So there was something going on in that room, but it was almost kind of like feeling us out, I think. So we ended up leaving that room. We went right across to the room, right across the hallway, which when we were on tour, Ken was kind of like, nothing really happens in that room. So we kind of glazed over it.
So here I am. I'm like, well, maybe you just don't know.
Right,
I'm going to call him in. Nothing happened in that room.
Nothing happened in that room. But while we were in there, we heard footsteps outside in the hallway.
Yes.
Clear
like,
as day.
Oh, okay. It is actually nothing happening in here. We're going in there. Now, we had a recorder in there.
Yeah.
So in the future, I don't know, we might have an EVP or something.
Yeah.
But we heard the footsteps. So we go out in the hallway. We assume it's coming from one of the other rooms. So we just go into what they don't have a name for it, I think.
No.
But they said that Sarah and Susan
Yep.
kind of reside in that room. Each had been in this room before, but at different times.
Different times.
Yes.
Yes. And I don't remember which is which, but one of them was said to have been, this was another one of the stories that I had heard when I was on tour there, but I didn't find any backing to it. But apparently one of them had some sort of an abortion while they were there at that house at some point in time.
Ken did not say that was a false story. Ken just worded it differently. He says she's believed, it was Sarah, she's believed to have like lost a child or some story like that, but we haven't gotten more on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and Sarah and Susan are supposed to be in this room.
Yeah.
This is the room that I was drawn to on my tour the first time I was there a couple of years ago. I just felt like I should be in that room more often. And when I was Skyping Wendy, we stayed in there a long time. And while I was in that room, I would hear a popping on one side of the room. I'd go over to that side of the room. I'd hear a popping on the other side of the room. It was like toying with me. So at some point when I am in that room with Wendy, we were side by side. I do know that for sure. I felt something kind of, I don't play with my sleeve for a lack of a better term.
Right.
And I thought it was Wendy, like kind of maybe not looking, but like feeling for me, you know, and only getting my sleeve and maybe like waving it around. Like she can maybe feel it with her fingers. So she's like trying to reach for me. That's just what I assumed. And I looked and I'm like, are you playing with my sleeve? And you look up like, no.
Because I'm like holding stuff in my hand.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm like, no. Like, what the fuck? Why would I do that?
No, that was an interesting experience because we were side by side. The only other person that could have touched my sleeve would have been Wendy, and Wendy's hands were full.
We're also the only people on that floor.
Yeah, the only people on that floor. I know that I kept hearing things out in the hallway, but nothing severe, like maybe popping every now and then, but the wind had picked up at some time. So I think I was kind of just writing off whatever I was hearing.
Then we realized what time it is, and we're like, we need to move to the second floor pronto. Mm-hmm. We actually have 4 levels when you count the basement. So I come out in the hallway, and then that's when you tell me, what do you tell me?
I tell you that something just bumped into my leg. And there's nothing up there that could have bumped into my leg, but I very much felt it. Like I was in a narrow hallway and something was just like, excuse me. Just like, but it was low enough to bump into my leg that it made me think that it was most likely a child instead of like, you know, an adult. I mean, if it was an adult, then they'd be low swinging, I guess, with their hands.
Try to smack your ass and
yeah,
missed.
I guess they missed. But I felt it right on my thigh. And I was just like, that was really weird. I just felt like I got bumped into. And Wendy wasn't there. She had just kind of come over there. And I was standing on the other side of the SLS camera that was pointing actually towards Wendy as she was coming out of that servant's quarters room.
Right, which is a ginormous room, which makes it creepy.
Yeah, it
you know,
does.
and the little tiny twin size bed in a giant room. It was weird.
So we flip on the lights and we decide, like she said a second ago, it's go time. We need to move now. We need to get down to the next floor. So we get down to the next floor and we're like, also batteries. So we go all the way down to the first floor.
Yes.
And get more batteries. And we talk to Kenny and Mimi again. And we're like, you know what? We would really like to use that Victrola because we want to stir up this activity. We want to get the show on the road. So they're like, yeah, go for it. So we come back up. We set up the SLS. We got our batteries reduced. And I've got the millimeter on. I've got my cameras. Everything seems to be working at this time.
Yeah, that was shocking. Everything was working well. So we turn it on. You start dancing.
But someone had flipped the speed apparently on the record player. So it was going a little fast. We didn't know. But I don't know what this jam is that they're playing.
No. No.
But Kenny comes up there and he goes, who changed the speed? And we're like, we just turned it on and put the needle down. Nobody changed the speed.
Yeah, it was a totally different knob we had not touched at all.
Nope.
So I don't know. Maybe somebody just in the house before had messed with it.
Yeah.
But he noticed it right away.
Right away. Came running up there. But it is a little odd because Mimi she told us like 4 times
that she had already wound it.
The Victrola is ready to go. I've already wound it.
Yeah.
All you got to do is turn it on. So I think she would have noticed if it was on the wrong speed.
Yeah, because it's a weird knob too. You can't just like bump into it and accidentally like change the speed.
Right.
So I don't know. Maybe they were like, nah, pump up these jams,
right?
man.
Let's go faster. So he comes up, he fixes it, and we dance until the juice runs out of the Victrola, basically. And we're like, that's enough. We don't have to wind it anymore.
Yeah. I mean, we did chill for a second to do an EVP session and whatnot, but nobody showed up for the party.
No.
So we moved into Maddie's room.
We did.
Oh, that's because Boo Bear was in there making a bunch of noise. Sorry. Mr. McFeely is what I meant to say. Yeah. So we go to inspect, because he said something we'd never heard before. He said, let's play pretend.
That's right. I remember hearing him say that. I'm like, he has never said those words.
Yeah, I thought is that in his vocabulary? I mean, maybe it is. We just never heard it. We listened to him for a long time. Had conversations with him in Tombstone. I didn't hear him say that one before.
Let's play pretend.
Yeah. So we go in there. We're trying to appeal to whatever might be in there.
And then we bring up the fact that we'd already heard the story about Maddie Cromwell. You were the one, I think, that said it didn't make sense.
If the servants' quarters are supposed to be upstairs, if Ken is so certain that you're not the nanny, why are you on the second floor? I said, you must have been really important to the family. And then with our own fucking ears, a big old
yeah, just like a disgusted outpush of air.
I think we're both like, did you do that?
Yeah. Wendy and I are not standing side by side. We're on kind of opposite ends of the room.
Right. Yeah.
I turn around and I'm like, did you just breathe heavily? And you're like, no, I thought you did that. I didn't do that. So we both heard it at the same time. And we're like, okay, what else could it have been? Right. So we're like, maybe we heard a door and just interpreted it as a deep breath.
Right. Because Ken was a smoker.
Yeah. So he was going outside.
So we thought, oh, maybe he opened the door and it made that noise, which I don't think they have weather strips on the bottom of them. They're like old antique wood doors.
Beautiful. Amazing.
Which actually, I hope you got a really good picture of that because I didn't.
I don't know. I hope so.
We'll have to go back.
I'm sure I left something there.
So we thought, okay, let's run to the front of the house or side of the house, really, and see if Ken's outside. We could not see him.
Nope, couldn't see him.
But we didn't hear anything downstairs either. They were being very respectful and being very quiet.
Right. And while we were there, it's not like we ever heard him come back in the house either.
That's true, yes.
If he went out, he would have had to come back in. So we were pretty sure that it was a very deep, breathy exhale that we heard. And the timing was perfection.
We were like, geez, do you not like Maddie? What is this? It was such a reaction to what we were saying.
Yeah.
But I think by the time we went back to Maddie's room, it didn't seem like anything was really going on there.
Yeah. And we're also now mindful of time because we did spend a lot of time on the third floor. So we left Maddie's room after a couple more minutes and we moved on.
Well, you said, I want to go in the red room. And I said, I've felt something in the red room the whole time that we've been here.
Yeah. Let's go. So we moved into the red room, which is the infamous red room. It's the room at the top of the stairs, which I found out only became the red room from Edwin and Lillian because of the wallpaper that they had, which was
Yeah.
red. So that's all. That's the only reason. Not like red rum or anything murderous. It's not because of the prostitute. It's just because of the color that they had on the walls. So we go in there, we sit down. Wendy's on the bed.
Yeah,
And
because Ken and Mimi had said that when they stay there, they sleep in that room.
Yeah.
And they said that they have felt presences on the bed with them.
yes.
One that Ken thought was maybe like a female getting in the bed with him.
Yeah.
And then another time they were both in the bed.
Yeah.
And they thought that, like a child had wiggled up between them.
Yeah,
you
that's
know?
so cute.
Yeah. So I'm like, well, I'm going to get on this bed.
He also says he feels their feet get poked.
I don't remember him saying that.
You don't?
No, I must have been paying attention to something else.
That's to me again. That's the kids. Like scoot over.
Yeah.
So Wendy's on top of the bed. Excuse me. Wendy's sitting on the bed. That sounds.
I'm
a
just
little weird.
floating over it. It's very Exorcist style.
You wouldn't believe the shit that happened. So Wendy's sitting on the bed and she's at an angle where her back is against the back of the room, but also the same where the door is. So she can see out into the hall where the SLS camera is. She's got a good view of it. I can only see out into the hall where I'm sitting. I'm sitting next to the camera that Wendy set up.
Yeah, that shuts off while we're in there.
Off while I'm just sitting there.
And we had only been on this floor for 20 minutes, maybe.
Yeah.
Brand new battery.
Again, gone.
Yeah, just hello, where'd you go?
Yep.
So I assume it's dead. Come to find out a little later, I'm like, let me go check that because it just shut off on its own while we were in the Birdcage Theater in Tombstone and then restarted itself. So let me go see if the battery's actually dead because that doesn't make any sense. And nope, wasn't dead.
Huh.
It just shut itself off.
Just shut itself off.
But it didn't last for much long after that. It
Right.
just kept getting shut off and drained. But yeah, didn't we hear a noise in the hallway? And I was like, well, I can see the SLS. So I start watching it.
Yeah, we heard footsteps out in the hallway. So that's why she turns around. She's like, I can see the SLS from here. So I'm like, okay, good. She'll see if something shows up on this SLS.
Nothing showed up on
Nothing showed. Is this fucking thing on? Hello?
Is anyone here?
Right?
Exactly.
So this is one of the reasons why I wanted to go in this room is because it seems like one spirit in particular is drawn to this room, and that's Ellen, and that she watches over you. So I wanted to go in there just to hang out for a minute. And I don't even remember what we were saying, but it seems like right momentarily after the camera shut off, what did we hear?
A big ass deep sigh again. Somebody's so fucking annoyed with us. She just
Again. Like,
are you girls still up here?
right.
And because it's such a big house, we're introducing ourselves in every room.
Yeah, that's
Maybe
true.
that's what was annoying.
Oh, it's you again.
Dummies, we heard you. We're a ghost. You know, we can go through walls.
But there's so many spirits. We just want to make sure everyone knows. Maybe this one wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, we don't know. We're just trying to be polite.
Right.
But there was this big deep sigh and we're like, what the fuck was that again?
Right. So we don't know, but it is the second floor, and the second floor is notorious for a couple of different entities that are down there. We don't know if it's Ellen or if it's Eno. So we start trying to reach out to Eno, and we start hearing noises out in the hallway again, right? Like it.
Right. We were going through names,
Yeah.
looking for evidence.
Yeah.
And I think we heard like a knock or something when we got to his name.
That's right. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
right.
And it could have been the wind blowing or whatever.
Yeah.
But because it happened on his name and we had said so many names, we stick with his name and we were trying to talk to him.
Yeah. So after a little bit, nothing happening. So we ended up leaving.
Well, we were hearing noises.
Yeah, we were hearing the noises.
Outside.
Right.
So we're like, okay, maybe he's trying to tell us, I don't like that room. You know, come out here.
Yeah.
Let me show you something.
So Wendy hops off the bed.
I just roll out.
And she rolled out. We end up in Eno's room.
But then you were hearing a noise and that what drew you back into the hallway, was
No, so I've been using my night vision and full spectrum. I want to use the Sony night vision for a little bit just because the battery situation being what it was on my two cameras. I didn't want those to be completely dead. So I go out in the hallway, I grab my Sony night vision, I come back in, but all of a sudden I turn it on and it's doing some weird graph function that I can't get my camera to get off of. And it's on the screen. So it's great. I could watch this graph all night long, or I could use my damn camera, but it couldn't get the graph to go away. So I'm frustrated. I'm trying to work with this camera that I've had for a couple of years, and this has never happened before. I have to go out in the hallway because I don't have any light, and I go around to where the SLS camera is in my laptop so that I can use that light instead of, like, I don't know, finding a flashlight, turning the light on or anything like that. As I get to the SLS and my laptop and I'm positioning the camera in a way so I could see the buttons on top of it, the screen just changes to normal. The graph is gone.
It's just fixed like magic.
It just fixed itself.
There's someone there that's like, let me help you.
Or it's like, it just released it. It's just like, okay. She's going to figure it out eventually.
Which, hey, at the end of the night, we were talking to Ken and Mimi, and they said, oh, people come here all the time and have battery drain and stuff.
All the time.
But eventually, this one film crew asked Mimi to go tell them to just stop it. And so Mimi did, and they stopped it. So apparently, they can do that. They can just be like, I'm fucking with this. Yes. Oop, okay, I'll let you go.
Right. And we didn't know that until the end of the night. Otherwise, we would have been like, Mimi.
We would have just asked Mimi.
Come on. We need to use our equipment.
I do not want to go up and down these stairs this many times.
Oh my gosh. We got such a workout. My legs are tight.
But within that room, you came back to me and I don't think anything happened.
Nothing was going on.
We should tell you there's a mummy mermaid in the closet.
The Fiji mermaid. Yeah. So that was really cool that he was like, and I got a surprise for you in the closet. And Wendy was telling me that she was reaching out to Nick Groff to see if he wanted to come up and investigate with us because he's in the area, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh my God, they got Nick Groff.
And he was hiding in the closet.
What is it? He opens the door. It's a mummy.
He comes out with balloons and stuff. No, instead it was a Fiji mermaid, which is almost
super
as good as Nick
cool. Maybe better.
No. That would have been badass. But he was busy, I guess. I don't know. He didn't reply.
But the Fiji mermaid was pretty cool. But yeah, like Wendy said, we ended up not catching much that we know of in that room at the time. So we ended up moving across the hall to the master bedroom.
Yes.
We stayed in there for just a short amount of time. We heard nothing and we were like, we got to move because time is running out.
Yeah, I think I remember that we heard noises in the hallway. Again, we're in one space and they are in another.
Yeah.
So you go back into Enu's room and I'm in the hallway and then we heard whistling.
Yeah, that's right. We heard a whistle.
I thought it came from the master bedroom. And I was like, I'm sorry, we were just in there. What is your problem?
Right.
So I go back in there. I snap a few pictures. It doesn't happen again. And then again, we're worried about time. So we're like, okay, we don't have time for this.
Right.
Playing cat and mouse all over the place.
Yep.
So we grab minimal equipment and run down to the basement.
Yes. So now when I was in the basement the first time a couple of years ago, I had an experience of the smell of cigar smoke.
Right.
When you get into the basement, it's like mold basement smell, strong.
Yeah.
It hits you in the face like a brick wall. So that really validated me just smelling that cigar smoke because everywhere in the basement, it smells like moldy basement. So for a cigar smoke to just arise out of nowhere, and it wasn't just me that smelt it. There was a couple of people that actually smelt it, not just me.
Yes, but when we were down there, no cigar smoke, no activity really.
No, nothing. Which is funny because like I said before, when I was there, a couple years earlier, the basement seemed like the one that I had an interaction with more of a child spirit. It seemed like I was playing hide and go seek with them. Like they were pulling me all around the basement.
Yeah. They make a noise. You go over there like it was happening upstairs.
Yeah. Right.
But no, we didn't hear any noises. We offered for them to throw rocks at us.
Yes, we did.
They weren't up for that.
No, they were like
nothing. No. So we didn't spend long down there.
No.
We go to the first floor. Mm-hmm. Ken had said that the dining room had an organ in it that they thought was haunted, that somebody was connected to it, but to do a spirit box session in there and that we should be successful. So we're like, okay, this is our jam.
We'll do this.
Yep. We grabbed some of our equipment from the second floor, set it up in the dining room, which included the SLS. So we're going to have one person sit in front of the SLS with the spirit box, with the headphones on. And by the way that we do the headphone thing is headphones into the spirit box instead of a loudspeaker because it gets really confusing hearing it. Also, what we've discovered is that we don't really like the sweeping. We like to just find a channel that doesn't have a station attached to it, basically.
Yeah.
And just listen to the white noise. It makes sense to us that if a voice comes through at that moment, then that is more paranormal than when you're sweeping stations that could pick up, a blip of music here or half a word here or something like that.
Yep.
I don't know if that's right or wrong, but it worked. We were getting some voices from it.
Well, hang on a second. Just one thing I want to back up about. Now, when we set up the SLS camera, you set up a camera to film the SLS so someone wouldn't have to sit over there.
Yeah.
And what happened?
An hour left on the battery when I first set it up. And then when I go to hit record, it said, I'm sorry, you've got 6 minutes.
Another battery drain, just gone.
It's just like, no, just kidding. Sorry. And I had charged that battery in the house.
Right. It was full.
So it's like, fuck that shit. Put that up. The other camera's dead as well. What do I got left?
So that's when you decided to sit down and you were going to
Yeah.
do the spirit box. So then I hung out by the SLS. Once I realized that actually that worked out to our benefit because the SLS was sitting at an angle that it didn't actually capture all of Wendy. So you had to raise it up
Yeah,
so
you
it
had
could
to hold
see
it.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I lift it up. Meanwhile, I'm holding my Sony night vision camera in the other hand, and it's heavy. It's on a rig. It's got a light attached to it. It's not like it's the lightest thing in the world. So, and neither is the Kinect, the SLS camera. It's kind of heavy. It's kind of bulky and just awkward. Wendy's over there doing the spirit box, and all of a sudden, a little figure is mapping right next to her. And I see it, and I'm filming her, and I'm looking down at the laptop, seeing this little spirit appear. I tell Wendy that something has appeared next to her. And
I'm like, what? Here?
right.
And I swing my arm out. And it's like, whoa, bitch, calm down.
zoop, it disappears.
But it was exciting. We had this damn camera set up
All night.
and we weren't watching it the whole time, or I had a camera on it because we didn't have a camera that
Right,
we could
exactly.
set on it with all the battery drained.
yeah.
But this was the first time that we saw something map on it.
Yeah, it just finally worked. I was like, oh my God. And it just appeared.
And then I scared away.
But it was so neat to see that she moved. And I noticed that she moved because I was like, Wendy, did you like try to reach out to it or something? And what did you say? You were like, yeah, I put my hand down. I'm like, because that's when it disappeared. You
Yeah.
scared it off or something. Then she continues to do the spirit box session. I continue to hold the camera. It's getting heavy. I'm juggling this shit around a little bit more. But as she's doing her spirit box session, I see something appear, which on the screen of the laptop, it looks like it's sitting on her head. And Wendy says that she feels her hair getting tugged.
Well, it felt like something was just kind of like running their little like fingers
weird.
through it. And as you're like, oh my God, it is on your left side right there, you know, and it looks like it's touching your head. I'm like, yeah, it feels like it's running its fingers up my head now. And then that side of my body felt pretty warm. And then I got chill bumps throughout my body after that.
Yeah. So another thing was mapped while that was going on, and I was just super excited about it, but I might have not filmed it. I think I was watching the screen instead.
Oh, but then when I say something was touching my hair, it was very shortly afterwards something was touching your hair.
No, what happened was, right after you had that situation, I felt like somebody come up behind me and goes on the back of my
That's
head.
what it was.
Because I felt it in like the,
Center of your head.
yeah, right where the skull meets the
Yeah,
neck.
which I had not explained to you that that's where I felt it. I just said something's touching my hair.
Yeah, I felt it right there in that spot, but it was just like someone was like, hey, dummy, I'm right behind you. So, and I said that to Wendy, and Wendy's like, oh my God, you know, and so we do a little switch of roles. I go and sit down to do the spirit box, and
Yeah.
Wendy goes and tries to maneuver this junk setup that I've created back over in
What?
the corner. I mean, you got to hold everything and juggle it. But, you know, she's a good sport. She goes and takes it. I sit down. Nothing happens after that point. I think it liked the situation that it was.
Well, nothing happened on the SLS, but where I wasn't really getting anything on the spirit box, you got voices.
Oh, okay. That's right. So I sat down to do the spirit box session, and I immediately got a hello because I said hello. It was a female voice, nothing for a while. And then I got a man's voice right away that said very clearly 2 syllables. And I thought it said the name Edward. That was the first thing that came to mind.
It was, yeah.
And then second, I was, second guessing myself. Well, maybe it was Enu because it was 2 syllables.
But again, guys, remember, just white noise, not scanning stations.
Right.
Clearly hearing the word hello
Exactly.
loudly and possibly a name.
Yeah.
That was impressive to me.
That was an exciting room. And this was the same room that I had been in on the tour where I got the picture of, I thought was the little kid standing behind the tour guide, David. So another thing that I thought was awesome because it's the same room where I had activity before.
Right.
Possibly.
And you have a photo from it.
Yeah.
So nothing ever mapped on the SLS again. And then the Sony died. Your
Yeah.
Sony.
My camera quit.
Yeah. No battery on that now too. So
Yeah.
we're like, God damn it. We
Everything's
have
gone.
nothing. We
Right.
have nothing. I had my full spectrum camera that I can go take pictures with. We have audio recorders. And so we say, well, fuck it. Let's just go run the building again
Yep.
and snap pictures.
Yep.
What equipment did you have in your hand?
I think I was using my cell phone to take pictures at that point.
When you were in the closet, did you have like an audio recorder with
Yeah.
you?
The audio recorder never died.
That's right.
By the way, I didn't mention this earlier, but I have a, my wannabe GoPro. I mentioned this before. It's my boob cam.
Yeah.
And I couldn't wear it because I had to wear my recorder on my neck. Normally I'm wearing jeans and I can strap it to my jeans.
Yeah.
Well, I wore leggings this time, so I couldn't do that. So I had to wear my...
we were working out.
We were working out for real. So for a long portion of our investigation, I put my boob cam up in the closet of the billiards room, which is said to be a place where a lot of women feel negative oppression and bad. Just they don't feel good in that room. So I stuck that in that closet. When I went to retrieve it, the battery was dead. I forgot to tell you that.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yes. And that one was fully charged. I had that plugged in the night before at my house.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, so when we go and snap pictures. Oh, I was up on the second floor by myself. I got creeped out because there were noises in the nursery.
Yes.
And I didn't want to go in there.
Yes.
Luckily you came up and I go, oh, thank God. Because I wasn't going anywhere. But we go in that room and nothing really happened. So we
it's
run
like,
up.
oh, the two of you are back? Oh, shit.
Oh, gosh.
I just really wanted one. I don't want both of you.
So we're like, well, let's go up to the third floor. You're going to sit in the closet by yourself like you did before when you were on the investigation by yourself.
Exactly.
So you're going to go in the closet by yourself. And I was snapping pictures in the other rooms. And then I was going to try to go up into the tower.
Yeah.
But as I reached the tower stairs, somebody is fucking stomping up there. Loud as shit. Where I'm like, is it that windy outside that the windows are rattling up there? Or like it would have to be moving the actual exterior wood and like shaking this whole thing, which it didn't seem like it was shaking. It sounded like footsteps and it sounded like it hit the stairs as well. So I'm just like, that is so weird. And there was some squeaky noise too.
Yeah.
But I'm hearing all of this and I'm at the bottom of the stairs. I'm like, I'm not going up there. That's what the fuck. So I have to go and get Chris.
So, and I don't know any of this because I'm in the closet. Now, I decided that since I'm in the closet that I'm going to really try to experience the same thing that everyone says that happens in there. So I relax. I kind of put my back against the back wall, knowing all the things that are said to go on there. I just kind of close my eyes and think about it, for a second. Just, do I hear anything? Do I feel anything? Do I sense anything? Nothing's really happening. So I hear Wendy then say, Chris, from like the other room. And I open up my eyes and I breathe and I'm like, yeah, and I'm still kind of waiting to hear anything. And I can hear Wendy coming, just kind of walking across the floor, but I have no idea where she is because I'm in a closet. And as I'm still kind of like, just trying to be in the moment and feel what the hell is in there, all of a sudden this black mass covers the slice in the doorway where there's one shining light for me to, realize that I can just escape when I need to. And I scream, fly that door open as hard as I could and run right into Wendy. Wendy's right there.
And I'm thinking like, oh shit, she's done it again. Something just got her in the closet. This is crazy. So I'm like, this fucking house is getting lit. So I'm like, what happened? And you're like, it was your shadow.
It was you.
And I'm like, what?
Yeah. As soon as I come running out, Wendy's right there. She's lined herself up perfectly with the door. So she's the black mass covering the tiny little light that I had in between the door and the frame. And I only realized that when I come flying out like I'm about to get murdered. I was like, well, shit. But I was so like on edge at that point because like I said, I was in that closet. I was so mellow. I was just trying
Zen. And then I creep you the fuck out.
Wendy's shadow scared the shit out of me. And I scream. And I don't even remember, but in my head, like I grabbed you and I was like, it was you. Or I don't remember.
So Chris is wigging out.
Yeah.
Basically in her mind, she's like, I cannot believe that I just let that happen.
Yes.
It was just you the whole time.
Right.
And she's repeatedly saying it. And I'm like, now that I realize that it wasn't a paranormal experience, I'm like, okay, shush.
Yeah, right.
I need you to hear this.
Right. So she drags me out.
And she's still like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I can't. I'm like, shh, listen. And then you do hear it. You did hear it.
Yeah.
I know you were still kind of in a daze. Like
my heart was still racing because of all of that had just transpired. And seriously, guys, we're telling you the story. I bet it sounds like this was a stretch of 10 minutes. No, this was all in like a minute, 30 seconds. I guarantee you. I run out, shake Wendy. Wendy's like, no, okay, fine. It's not paranormal. Come on. Okay, great. It's me. Come on. So she pulls me out there by this tower where I gone upstairs and actually felt earlier like it was the safest place to be. Like it
you
was
said
warm.
that.
I did say
Yeah.
that. It's nice and inviting. And we're standing there. I shit you not. There is somebody walking up there.
Pacing.
I said pacing.
Yes.
And Wendy's like, who would be up there? I'm like, I don't know.
Because we didn't know where Ken and Mimi were
Right.
necessarily. They were supposed to be on the first floor.
But we didn't tie bells to their necks.
Yeah.
They could have been anywhere.
They were in the parlor or the library. That's where they stayed the whole time.
Yep.
Very quiet. But I thought, I don't know, that it is getting to be time for us to leave. Maybe they're trying to make sure the lights are shut off or something. But it's continuously happening.
It got louder.
Coming down the stairs. It was so fucking loud. And then we are at the bottom of the stairs being like, it's still happening, and we're talking, and we got louder and louder, and we're talking in normal tones of voice. And I'm just like, whatever it is, it must hear that we're here, and it doesn't care or it doesn't realize it. It's definitely not Ken or Mimi.
Yeah, right, exactly. They would have yelled down to us. Like, so at that time, my heart is still racing because of what I felt in the closet. And now I'm kind of on high alert. Like, is this going to come down the stairs? Like, what is it?
Yes, that's what I kept thinking.
It was pacing so loudly, and like I heard a squeaking. I'm like, almost like, because it's pacing so loudly, it's like shoes squeaking on that floor, or the floorboard. I mean, it was just a weird pacing back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. We've never heard footsteps this crazily,
so fucking loud like that. There is a fucking person up there. Now, here's the thing, guys.
Undoubtedly,
some of you are probably listening to this and you got big old balls and you're like, well, why didn't you go up there and look? Shit, that thing did not want us up there. That's what I got from it.
I didn't want to go up into the lion's den.
No, that's a tiny ass space on some very dangerous stairs, and it does not sound like it wants to come down until we're gone.
Yeah.
So we're like, okay, I don't know what that is, but let's go find Ken and Mimi and ask them.
Right. Maybe this is something else.
Yes, maybe it's something else. Have you ever heard the tower blowing around, making a bunch of noise? It was a big wind earlier in the night.
Right.
Maybe that's normal.
Yeah.
So we go down there, we find Mimi, and then later Ken as well. We tell them about it, and they're like, oh. And they made it sound like it was a common thing.
Yes. They made it sound like it was a common thing. Like he was almost like rolling his eyes like, yeah, that happens all the time.
Oh, you got to hear that. That's great.
Right.
Then it's even blowing our mind more.
Yeah.
Because we're like, wow, that was fucking loud.
That was crazy. Like, honestly, it sounded like it was getting pissed off. And had we gone up, like, it would have been like, why are you still on my fucking floor?
Yeah.
You know?
Like, we've said this a million times before that ghosts are like cats. And so, you know, when they don't know anybody, they hide from you.
Yeah.
And so they're trying to go into these spaces. And it sounds like it's pacing, waiting for us to fucking leave so it can come back into its home, you know? So, anyways, we then have a long conversation with Ken and Mimi telling them our experiences for the night, and they were offering validation for some of them. You know, yes, we've heard that before. We've seen that before.
Well, and also with the breath, he said that he felt like that was Ellen.
So he found that amusing, said it sounded normal. A lot of the stuff that we told him, he was like, yep, that all happens. And they were hilarious because we were told we had the place from this time to this time. And we go downstairs and we're talking to Mimi and she goes, okay, do you want this room now? Yeah. And we're like, yeah, it's you know, 10 minutes past the time that we're supposed to leave.
Be out. Yeah.
And she goes, oh, really?
Oh.
I'm like, shit, is this a sleepover now? Let me go get my sleeping bag.
Yeah. They were really cute. I think we could have stayed for hours and just kept talking to them. I don't think they would have minded. They were so like giving with information, and they were so also receiving of the fact that we had these very validated experiences that they had and other people have reported. I mean, the smile on Ken's mouth was, I mean, from ear to ear as we were telling him our story. So you know that's just a good feeling when he's like, yep, yes.
Yeah. They were incredible people, and the house was incredible.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't see no full body apparition or anything like that.
That doesn't always happen.
No, it does not at all. But we had a great time.
Shit, a lot of places, the paranormal activity doesn't always happen.
I know. And we spent at least an hour in all the other spots. Mm-hmm. And that's the evidence we got.
Yeah,
within an hour.
Yeah.
Like, how often does that happen? So it was a very active house.
No, it seemed like the activity was just getting fired up. So I hate it so much for Ken and Mimi, who had to go to sleep after all of that.
Like, well, whoever is up in that tower, y'all better not sleep on the third floor.
No kidding.
They are not happy.
They are not happy. They wanted us out. They were ready to wrap it up.
Yeah. Ken and Mimi, like, we can do this all night. And we're like, no, somebody doesn't want us here.
They were really cool. There, you know, there's a lot of places where you go to that has a lot of antique furniture and a lot of antique things laying around. And they're just like, don't touch this, don't touch that, don't sit here, don't do this. Yeah. They were just like, you want to play with Victrola? Cool.
I cannot believe they let us do that.
That was a lot of fun.
That was crazy. I've never seen one working before.
No, that's true, right?
Yeah.
They offered, you know, their assistance with some other things. We just honestly ran out of time because I did want to see some of these other things that they were offering us.
Yeah, things that they kind of specialize in, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's not had enough time there. We could go back and like investigate more and more.
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah. I want to. I hope to do that again.
But it was a really good investigation. We had a great time.
Yeah.
Got in the car, rode back. Just got to tell you real quick, we drove past a prison that looks really old. I was super excited about the building. There was a light on. I go, someone's there. And Chris goes, where? And then puts that minivan into turbo. And she thought it meant somebody on the road because the prison is not far from our hotel.
It's not.
And so we have been cracking jokes this whole time about we have to use a key to get in, just into the hotel.
Yeah.
And so we're like, they have this on lockdown in case somebody gets out of that prison.
Yep.
So it didn't help at 2:30 in the morning that I'm like, who's that?
Yeah, who's that person?
On the dark road.
I was like, what? Nope.
Yeah, y'all didn't know those Honda Odysseys can get down.
Hell
they can.
yeah.
So just note on that. But yeah, that was our investigation. And
Well, and that was just off the cuff too, guys. We did not intend to do a follow-up to the investigation right after the story of the S.K. Pierce house, but it was such an amazing investigation for us that we couldn't keep that from you. So you know you're going to want to hear about it right away. It was such a fun investigation. Like, I haven't had that much fun. I mean, well, I say that, but I have fun getting scared. So when I come out of the closet and it's Wendy, not a murderer, of course it's a great day for me.
no, it is a good day.
It is a good day.
But it wasn't a murder. But yeah, of course, we're not giving you all the evidence because we haven't reviewed it. We haven't had time to look at our pictures. This is only the very day after.
Yep.
But we felt like we had so many personal experiences that we wanted to take the time to kind of add them to this episode.
Yeah.
And then, so we'll have a sequel at some point.
At some point, you'll get just the evidence. I guess you'll have to refer to this episode for all of the details because you don't need to hear that twice. You'll get the
we'll
key
give you a tiny little backstory. If
key
we
players.
have evidence that relates.
And if we got any last names.
I know Ken really wanted those.
Yeah. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell. S.K. Pierce Mansion does live up to its name. What did I say earlier? It's the second most haunted location in Massachusetts next to Lizzie Borden's.
Oh, yeah.
And Ken was like, oh, we've never been there.
Oh.
They don't have to. Their house is plenty haunted.
Well, that is true. Yeah.
But yeah, so it was fun. It was a great birthday gift for me because that's what I wanted to do for my birthday was go on a paranormal investigation. And we went to a place that I guess wanted to show up in a big way for my birthday. How sweet.
That was so nice of them.
It was nice of them.
But yeah, that's it. If you've got a story that you want to add about the S.K. Pierce house, then you can write to us at creaturesofthenightparanormal@gmail.com, or you can comment on our social media as we post about this throughout the week, or you can always direct message us as well. You guys heard this before. It's COTN_paranormal on Instagram, and then it's COTN_paranormal on Facebook and Twitter. And that's pretty much the gist of it.
That's all.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.